This is your daily market recap for Wednesday, June 22nd, 2022. Let's go. Hey everyone, this is my channel to help investors and traders develop a probability-based mindset to succeed. Also try and keep friends informed of what's going on in the markets and the economy, and also a little real estate content as well. This is Dan Max at EXPI Realty, aka the Trading Agent, and this is your daily market recap for Wednesday, June 22nd, 2022. Let's get into it. Again, if you are newer to the channel, please check out the Discord room. Lots of information always there. Check out also all of the information in the side rooms. A lot of people step into the room and just kind of ask questions and don't really think about looking into the side room because we have all the basic recaps. There's a ton of stuff going on. Just in general, be safe, be smart out there. The market is volatile, and let's get into it. First, I want to talk about some of the oil stuff, and again, the overall mindset and trying to anticipate the market. Haters will say, show us your statements, show us this, show us that. And again, I've never asked anybody to show me anything because, again, I just want people to trade well. I'm not a billionaire. I don't act like I never lose. People need to realize in trading, it's evolving. You lose, you learn. You lose, you learn. You win, you lose. Again, it's all about higher highs and higher lows when it comes to how to manage money successfully. Doing this 20 years, again, not perfect by any means, but each iteration, the hope is to evolve and to show and help others. So again, I welcome haters because, again, if you follow what we're saying here, what we're doing, I think people notice that we're actually bringing a ton of value and benefit to folks because, again, just like I was at many times in my career in trading and managing money, there's one little thing that I was doing wrong, not anticipating the markets, not using stops, or say not layering in or layering out the trades, being early, letting emotions, like all these little things that happen to everybody. Honestly, it is what it is. So anyway, let's start off as we always do with Bitcoin. Talked about the levels. We talked about chopping, needs to get higher, couldn't. Now we're back at the next support levels. We're holding in this 20,000 to, I don't know, 6. I guess that's a pretty wide range, isn't it? Yeah, again, I don't trust this action necessarily for the long term because, again, I don't know if the market's done bottoming. Now, again, it's very reminiscent of how I feel about metals and certain materials names. Like, I think they're great for the long run, but I don't trust buying them for any period of time until the market capitulates, because I think we are in a bear market. Inflation starts bear markets. Let's not argue that. If you don't know why, stop by the Discord room. I'll show you the evidence of how it all plays out. So at this point, Bitcoin, people keep saying 10, 15,000. Whatever the number ends up being, it's probably going to knock out a ton of stops. And now that we're bottoming here near term, like we said down here, you need to get away from the lows. You need to see sustained buying. You need to see action engulf everybody who sold. Meaning, if you sold low, the people who sold low, stock needs to needs to show that they were wrong. It needs to provide evidence of wrongness, if that's the best way to describe it. Because, again, here would be an example of you bottom, you hit a low, then you went higher. Here's another one. Right now, instead, we make lower lows and lower highs. Not bullish, right? Keep it simple. Oil. Everybody loves to just say you were early and wrong. And it's like, you know what? I said, watch the futures, watch the market. Just keep in mind, if you were one of the people, and again, this isn't a personal thing, because I think we've all been there, who reads the headlines, chases the market, does what the market maker exactly wants us to do, which is to lose money. We chase into a trade. How obvious was it that everybody was a bull in oil? And people are like, oh, you were early anyway. That's fine. You know what? That's part of the game. People know me, know I was out of town. To me, the trade made more sense to be in than to be out, based on the sentiment and the action. Well, now what? It's probably going back down under 100. Will it get there today? No. And that's the thing I keep telling people. Like, if you have a great trade, like a fine wine, you let it breathe, you let it run, you let it do what it's going to do. So we'll get into more of the oil names later, but check out the oil futures again. It seems very honestly to me that I'm thinking somewhere in this $60 to $70 range. If this is actually a recession, now will oil go negative like it did once? No. I think there's too many supply constraints. There's just too many issues. Now, again, a recession will slow the oil demand. That's typically how it all ends. But we're not there yet. Now, again, if you're wondering why, show me evidence of this again. Here we go. Recession in 2008 caused by oil inflation. Then boom. Let it breathe. Now again, that's where I think, again, I don't think there is unlimited downside to oil, but look, if you look at the candle, engulfing bar in the monthly, right? Month end was over, probably going back 60s, 70s. That makes sense, right? I hope that makes total sense to people. Just keep that in mind. It takes time. You know, one day doesn't make a trend. Also, too, check me out on Twitter. I'm always dropping my alerts. I drop them in the room sometimes, but it's just to copy and paste it all. It's just so annoying. Sometimes I'll just drop a picture just to take the chart. But again, we talked about all this stuff new core today. We'll get into that because that's going to go on the list for a trade at the end. Please stick around. Talked about why we got in. And again, Facebook. We're going to get all into it. Facebook, it's technically Meta. But let's get into it. TLT. All right, friends. What did we say? V bottoms, very rare. We said we're going to rebound sometime, maybe retest later. Just be patient. 112s, I think, was not a bad starting point. But if you got stopped out, hey, you stops did their job. But also, I thought we were closer enough to the bottom where you got to be patient. Then we had the novice gap, and we talked about that. Look at the novice gap. Novice gaps are gaps that happen in the wrong direction at lows or highs. Like a novice gap at a high would precede a reversal. Novice gaps at lows proceed going higher. Very clear, novice gap. Today was actually a professional gap. Man, these dojis were so tight. I hope they're really even hard to see on this. So you had this buy signal, right? Overwhelming demand. What did we say? Chase, be careful chasing. You got some pullback, said watch near the 110s. I really wanted 108 and 19. I added a little on this day at like 110. Not as much as I wanted to. And again, this is what we talk about, layering into trades. The more something chops out and verifies a bottom with clarity, the more you can add to it. But if it doesn't do it and you only get a couple days, a couple points, it just is what it is. I mean, you got to be happy where you're at because, you know, there will be dips off the highs. If it is a bull trend, it's not going to go straight line move up every day. You know, like that's just not realistic. So now what? Professional gap. 110, opened at 112, closed at the high. That's not bearish. Now, again, what we've talked about, the thesis of oil going lower, TLT going higher, inflation expectations moderating near term. Again, how long does this last? Weeks, months? I don't know. But in the oversold position, everybody's short bonds. Everybody's now starting to see that there's a recession coming. That's not going to be bullish for materials near term. Now, again, I'm not saying CCJ or VALE or any of our favorites are going to the ground. Things like the same thing with gold. I just don't see them going anywhere. And when I say anywhere, I mean kind of range bound. Not going to be that exciting. People are going to jump back into risky assets pretty obviously coming up. How, why, what? We'll get into it. But let's get into the dollar. Just keep in mind, TLT bottom. Remember why we were talking about this 108 to 110 range? It seems very clear now. Will we close above the 200 month? Still got a couple days. Don't be surprised if it does. Look at this long wick. Imagine if it's a doji. Could go higher. Zedala. Again, people are like, it's bearish, it's bullish. Again, start on the monthly. Check your references. To me, this looks like a big channel and it's breaking out. Now, again, does it have to break out immediately? No. It's a monthly. It's slow. It can be choppy. I ultimately think if we're hitting a recession, the dollar is going to strengthen. The rest of the economy, the rest of the world economy is going to be buying dollars. Every day doesn't go up, down. I'm amazed so many people are just like, look at a candle and they're like, oh, it's green, bullish. Trends bullish. Red candle, bearish. And now look at these trends. Like you get sometimes some green candles. Sometimes you get some red candles. Just be aware. Sorry about this nasal drip. I'm taking Flonase too. It's still not working. Anyway, what do we say? Up against the top of the range, probably pulls back, now compresses. If we go into earnings, this is why I'm starting to turn a little more bullish near term, is maybe the markets are going to mellow out for a couple weeks. If you check the seasonality, stop by the room. I'll show you the notes on the seasonality if you have questions. It's in the reference articles and reference room. You wouldn't be surprised if there's a pop into earnings going into July. Kitchen sink quarter. Everyone's going to say we're in a recession, end of the world. We're going to do this to fix it. Let's see what happens. SPY. Now, we've said this about a dozen times. Said, watch what happens. You fill this gap, right? Fills the gap. backs off. Nothing wrong with that. But look where we're at. Big move, pop. Big move, pop. Big move, bigger pop. Pretty solid move. Probably should pop. Now again, how high? Let's fill the gap at 400. To me, that seems like a reasonable rally in a bear market. Could it end up being bigger? Could it get to the channel high? That's always possible too. Now, I'm not saying it has to happen. But again, people are like, well, don't you need to know your targets? And it's like, not really. Let's let the play out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's really tough to know how high the market's going to go based on today's information, because information is evolving. Like, that's the problem with people and their price targets. They love to say, I am buying the SPY up to 420. It doesn't get to 420 and you didn't evolve with the information, you missed out on selling. And then it, you know, because I heard that same thing up here, like, I'm waiting for the 420 area, I'm waiting for 50 day. You didn't get it. That happens all the time. Here's another one. We're breaking out. I'm buying the market. Fail. Again, you repeat, and hopefully people listen, because again, you have to make these mistakes. I'm just trying to help you not make the mistakes, because I've made those mistakes trying to be perfect. QQQ. Now here we go. If the TLT bottoms, Q should catch some action. It's kind of crazy how similar they look, actually. You have your pro gaps, your novice gaps, whatever. Novice gap, chop, chop. We'll see. Again, how high can this go? If you look at we're at support, we're at a lot of channel lines. I know it's a messy chart, but we have come down from 370 down to 270. I think it could go lower if oil went higher. But now that oil is basing out, I think tech catches a little bit of a reprieve and a bounce. Now, how high can it go? Please, it's like asking the same thing on the question. I don't know. I do think it probably gets over the 20-day. Could it touch the 50-day? Could it touch any of these? Could it backtest this trend line somewhere in the 320s? All seems very logical. Now, again, the seasonality and a bounce, just please, and this is why we say the more you're up, the less you own. Because if you try to trade off of price targets, you're going to find out at some point that you're not really good at price targets. And neither are the masses. They get blown out. I remember still up here, everybody was waiting, you know, expecting like this 3.7 breakout. We got above it and then it failed. But everyone was looking at this gap and saying, well, that's the breakout. It's like, okay. And then we got back here at 3.7. And here's the thing, which was funny. My actual layer into short, the QQQ, was just under 370. A lot of people go, I'm going to wait for 370. We never got there. And then proceeded to drop 100 points. Now, you missed 100 points because you wanted an extra dollar. We got in at 369s. We're pretty happy with it. See how that works? Bottoms and tops are not easy. You get higher highs, lower highs, equal highs. Sometimes it's perfectly easy, but same thing. I mean, we're going to get into this when we fish into some of the Facebook stuff. I guess it's technically meta. IWM. We've talked about this, you know, many videos. We're at the 2018, 2020 highs, at the old channel lows. Keep it simple. I mean, I knew I'd draw this channel. It's very subjective, but even at this point, check out on the monthly. Here we go. We're coming into support. Could we get down to 162, 160? That's possible. I mean, you're close enough for government work, though. But this is the thing. If you've been short the market, you got to start unwinding some shorts. And if it's partial, that's fine. I tell people, like, I've got a part AMD, QQQ, Apple short that I'm not going to get rid of because it's a bear market. And I'll hedge it by playing tech up. But I have such good entries that I know it's going lower in time, but I don't have a reason to cover. Because, again, what happens if I'm wrong and the market tanks and I have no shorts? I'm going to be really disappointed. So on that note, you keep some shorts, you layer in, you layer out, you hedge it, you manage it. Gold. So many people attack me daily on this stuff. And again, I get it. I love gold. It's very emotional, though. And if you learn to take the emotions out of gold and you just admit it's manipulated, it's valuable, and they're going to try to manipulate the price lower. You look at the monthly, you go, cup and handle. Well, how long does the handle need to take? I would imagine the handle is going to bottom when the market pukes. And the Feds have to talk about loosening QE, QT, go from QT to QE to balance sheets expanding, yada, yada, yada. Who knows the exact details? But my point being is what? It's going nowhere. This happened last year. This is where you had a nice bounce earlier in the year. Look at this. And then you just went nowhere until December. I'm not saying necessarily that's happening again, but I'm saying it might happen. Because the reason why is because the market will probably be volatile. Gold's just going to hold up, and people are going to, brag about holding up, but there's going to be other trades. If you can't wrap your head around that, that's fine. Again, and people say, well, what if you're late? Well, I can always get in later. I just don't want to be stuck in this stuff because, again, I have been stuck in the gold purgatory. And if you don't know what gold purgatory is, it's similar to silver purgatory and gold miners and silver miners purgatory. It's watching the market do amazingly great things. And when I say like the market, I'm just talking about in general, certain sectors, certain things move great, and you watch your positions go nowhere. That is absolute brutal because, again, you can only identify so many trends and opportunities, and if they don't work, they don't work. But getting stuck in stuff that's not going anywhere, that's worse. It's, again, imagine you expect the market to rally 10-15% and gold goes up 2%. Like, do you really want to own that? Same thing with silver. And when I mean own it, like buy the physical. No one will ever argue that at this price. Like, I'm never going to say not to, because if you can find gold and silver anywhere near spot price, buy it. However, just let it be. We've talked about this a billion times. When is the best time to buy metals? It's when they blow out. Here you go. Here was COVID. And bam. Go back to 2008. Oops, sorry. Again, you could have traded the channel low here. We talked, I mean, again, if you know me, you know we did that. Here you go. Blow out, and then that's what you got to wait for. And if you don't wait for it, you're not going to make money. You might not lose money either, but you're going to miss out on trading opportunities. GDX, same thing. Here we go. Here's COVID. Woo! Straight back up. I mean, it went from 16 up to what, 46, 47. Wait for the blowout. We're not at the blowout yet. And if you can't wait, then don't be surprised when it happens. That's all I ask. Don't act like someone didn't warn you or you didn't have the evidence to do an act. Like, it's there. It is obviously there. Just come on. Don't overtrade it. There's other trades. We'll talk about it. Follow me. Follow, I guess, I don't know. I don't know what the average person does out there. Well, actually, I do. They follow all the other people online who don't win. They just, again, it's like the lemmings are stuck in a crab pot. They just all lose together. They always get cooked. GDXJ, same thing. Let it ride. Let's let it go. AG, every day someone says, hey, you should buy it down here. I'm like, told you to sell it up here. Told you to buy it down here. Now what? Leave it alone. Leave it alone. AEM. Leave it alone. Leave it alone. Leave it alone. Now, again, maybe you have a reference down here. I'd like this because it actually is holding up pretty well. But I feel like it's going to break this channel temporarily when the market busts and you get somewhere under 40. Seems crazy. See what happens. NFGC, this is a company I really like. Traded this a little bit, and I caught myself holding it going, why am I holding this stock? Sold it up near 6 and then came right back. Again, long term, probably aren't too concerned about $5, $4, whatever. It's just opportunity cost. What do you want to do with your money in the meantime? I'd rather make money elsewhere and then come back to this when I feel like it's perfect. Because, again, I do these daily recaps so that you can kind of see how things evolve. We're trying to always anticipate. Right now, we're anticipating nothingness. Well, so what does a nothingness mean? Leave it alone. Just let it marinate. Let it stool. Let it steep. Whatever. PAAS, same thing. Like it down here, but it's probably going to channel low. Letter X. All right. Talked about this today during the daily recap. Dropped some charts. Said, you know what? It's probably getting close to buying. If you did see some of the Steel D, Nucor, U.S. Steel earnings name, like had earnings, not. Let me start over. They warned of upside targets. They actually upped their guidance. Now here we go. Here's U.S. Steel. Probably, again, way to play it, but I ended up trading. I think you guys are going to love this. Nucor. Let me build this chart for y'all. Let me build this chart for y'all. I think you're going to see it pretty clearly. Oh, sorry, it's right here. You're at the channel lows. Let's duplicate this on all my charts. You're also at the 0.618. Maybe it's a different low. Let me pull it up on the daily. I apologize. Here we go. Again, when you try to translate something over the monthly to the daily, it doesn't always look perfect. Again, drawing this live. If you don't mind, just be patient. All right, channel low. See that? Clear as day. Let me remove this real quick. A lot of lines because this thing consolidated for a long period of time. It's got to be it, right? No, maybe which bottom was it? So frustrating. Let me, this can't be it. No, anyway, there was this, like, it's like, come on, Dan, get it together. Get it together, boy. Maybe it's one of these was a fib. Oh, okay, here you go, 50 fib. Sorry, my bad. Here we're at the fib. Last time we hit the fib, held. Now people are going to say, well, you know, you said lay off materials. They upped their guidance last week pretty significantly. Now, again, I don't need to be that deep into the fundamentals to know that if they're doing well now, are they going to do better if the market starts to rally? My guess is yes. The risk is very low. What do we talk about at lows and highs? Gaps. Is this a novice gap down? Now, again, I didn't go all in today. I started building a position. I've seen, as we have hit this trend, it can be a one-day thing. Right? Down here, remove base source. Get out of here. So keep that in mind. It could be multi-day or a couple days. Either way, I like it. You went from 187, 188 down to 105. That's a huge drop. We all not agree? Probably due to bounce. Here you go. Big drop. Drop, pop, drop, pop. Third leg down, whatever you want to call it. Novice gap. Here you go. Here was the novice gap before it reversed. Multiple novice gaps, then reverse, then one more. I think this thing has a bounce in it. Again, if the market's going to rally, it's probably going to bounce. VALE, the money. I mean, I think this is, again, I've said people leave a lot of these names alone because technically they don't really have any technicals that I trust. I trust Nucor because that's very simple. Channel and fib. VALE, it loves to make higher highs, lower lows before it bounces. Maybe that's what's about to happen here. Little higher low, bounce. Keep it simple. CCJ. I mean, I said this a billion times. Head and shoulders top, probably going lower. It did. Now we're back at the range of lows. Can you buy it? I mean, there's people on stock Twitter are like, oh, you're never wrong. What, lay off CCJ. No, I'm pretty good at predicting this. I said, what, 1,000 times? Buy it down here. Buy it on the 20-day. Sell it up here. Check the monthly. Now, again, people are like, oh, you know what you're talking about. Let's examine the videotape. You can go back to watch the videos from the previous. Said this is resistance up here. Up in 30s, you should take your money. It drops. Now it's back at the range lows. Could it pop? I don't know. We said up here, watch this range. I mean, it literally had one day. We talked about this volume up here needed follow through. When it didn't follow through, that's a big red flag. And it didn't. Back down to lows, maybe a higher low. We filled the gap down here. You can see that at 2058. I'm not shorting this stuff. I don't want to buy it. I think Nucor is a better trade. Their earnings up their earnings. It just is what it is. Arrow, love this name long term, but I'm not buying it. Just as simple as that. Mosaic, CF, same thing. Love these names. Just not buying them. Oh, but Dan. That's fine. You've got to trade. You can only trade so many things. You only have so much cash. All right. So you better try to pick the best stuff. And that's all you really can do. Right. There's no certainty. Said this name is probably due to bounce. It's gotten crushed from 80, 79 down to 50. You do the math. Pretty significant drop. Now what? Probably bounces a little bit. If the market bounces, not saying CCJ and all these names won't. I think there's other stuff that's just due to bounce bigger. CF, same thing. Channel low, held it, bounced, chopping. Probably could bounce. Let's get into some stuff that actually, again, as much as I hate tech long term, I'm not going to discount the fact that it's oversold. Talk about if you have profits, start taking them down here. If you shorted up here, nice trade. Because again, if shorted up here, you could have shorted up here. I mean, there's, again, bear market. But notice the amplitude of down is now decreasing. Like you're getting tired. You're due to bounce. And if that bounce means you could get to 80 to 100, is that 20% good? Is that better than gold moving 3 to 5% max? Yeah, that's why we're getting into some of these tech names. Apple. Again, I still have a little bit of shorts because, I mean, again, I think it's a bear market. It'll keep me watching these names. but you broke below like this volume, like this area right here. Could it be a bear trap before we bounce into earnings? I mean, could we get back again, pop 10 or 15%? I think so. There's some accumulation down here, and there's a professional gap. Last time we saw it down here, saw it down here. Just be aware. Now, I don't know how high it's going to go. Again, the more you're up, less you own. This is a volatile market. You have to trade it. It's not meant to be invested. Trade it. Meta, let's get into this trade, because a lot of people are just like, what are you doing? You're an idiot for buying here. Channel low, 0.618. Very simple, obvious buy, right? Now, again, could it take 2 months maybe, or could it be like this and bounce back? Well, let's go to the videotape, my friend. Look at the daily. Channel lows. Look at this channel. It's a little dirty. Let's clean it up, because it is looking a little dirty. All right, there we go. Channel lows. Now what? Play the probabilities. It's probably going to bounce. What did we talk about on the intraday action? Look at the volume down here. Look at the volume down here. Keep in mind, you just dropped from 200. Look at the volume. Market makers are accumulating, meaning they're or potentially just at worst absorbing inventory of sellers down here, right? Look at this candle. Nice and small. Big volume. Stopping power. Now what? Probably should bounce. People today saw me adding. Again, my ads weren't even that great because I didn't even, I guess I was getting a little arrogant. Happens. 157 to 158 plus. He closed at 155, said I'm going to hold it through the Kramer pump. Now the anti-Kramer trade, let's talk about it. Now everybody is hating and doing everything the opposite of Kramer. At some point though, he is going to be right. Just like a broke clock is right twice a day. If everybody is anticipating a short at the lows and the market maker has stopping power and is accumulating, you're at the channel lows, you're at the 0.618 on the fib. Do you really want to short down here? Now, the retail trader or the average person on StockTwits who would just attack this video saying it's a bunch of crap, that's fine. You guys short it away. The average rational person will look at the evidence and go, now the probabilities are rather what? Strong that this is going to bounce. Again, we're playing probabilities. I'm not selling you on certainty, but I think the trade has risk versus reward. I mean, would you take 155 up the channel highs, which is like 201? I mean, I'll take 50 points, 25%. It's better than gold. Gonna do. I can guarantee that. Roadblocks. I've said this a bazillion times. This was the bottom. Now you got a lower high. I said if we get over the 50-day, don't be surprised if it gets up to the 40 area. Seems logical, right? Seems rather logical. I mean, I don't know why you couldn't assume that. I mean, it's oversold. Someone's going to buy it. Volume down here, chop, higher low. This is what can be so frustrating about trading. Again, notice how the market was tanking and roadblocks went nowhere. That is telling you someone is absorbing the price. Now you would say, well, it got crushed before, and it's like, yeah, no shit. But look at it now. Probably about to rise. Again, put this on your radar. You can trade it. I think it's going to go higher if the market rallies. Tesla. Ton of people want to short this thing. And every day they're like, I want to buy puts and do this. I'm like, is this potentially, again, see if it ends up playing out, a W bottom? How high could it go? I don't know. 800? Maybe the channel? I'll show you exactly where I think it can go. Probably somewhere in this range, right? Just don't short a boring market that's chopping at the lows, because again, if it ends up turning from a bear market into a bear market rally, these names are going to rally quick. And as we say, the more you're up, take more profit. Don't get stuck. Please don't get stuck. Absolutely terrible. You don't take money. Again, remember, being bearish has limited downside. EXPI talked about this, great company, stuck in the mud. Just is what it is. I like it down here. It's chopping. We'll see what happens. UTHR, you're welcome. Called this one pretty well. Double bottom, volume price analysis. Came back, another double bottom, created a channel. You broke up over this price. We said with volume, it's probably going to sustain higher. It went higher. Now you pull back to, remember, talk about this high volume highs and high volume lows. Love to retest. You retest this area in the 20-day. Now, is this an M or a breakout? It's tough to know. If you are long the stock from the very low, you probably need to take more off and raise your stops. If you're newer to it, I mean, just be smart. Again, what's the upside? I mean, channel highs. We talked about this at some point, maybe. So where is that? 245, 246, 250. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. That's what I'd be looking to take more off. That's just me. USO, let's get into oil because everybody just, that's what they're here for. Here you go. We talked about it holding the channel lows this morning. We said watch the 50-day. If you shorted up here, congratulations, because now oil's down even more after hours. Back, the USO is back to 80.30. I think it closed at what, 80.88. Not bad. Again, I anticipate oil to USO to come back into the 60-70 range. I like the risk reward. I've been telling people to short it. XOP. Now again, if the market rallies and the oil names are part of the market, they might not have as much downside. I hope people understand that. If you're listening to this, Hamilton, this is what I want you to understand about hedging your drip trade. Watch the 124, 123 area. It's very clear. Like, this is support. We talked about it creating like this head and shoulders top. That would be my guess. Now again, if you're going to hedge it with Gush, trade it. Do not invest in Gush. Take it day to day. Take your time. Please. Please, 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 please take your time. Because what I'm thinking here is if the Gush does pop, it might be short-lived because it all really depends on how it reacts to oil. Because this is what's so hard is that oil, I mean, can we not say like 170 down to 124 is a bloodbath? Yeah. If oil drops, this could just chop. And we've talked about choppy bottoms. If you go study the XOP, choppy tops, choppy bottoms, because maybe it does this and then it goes wham, then higher. That would be my guess, is that we could maybe get down to this 113 after some chop. Because again, if oil's going lower, what should this do? Now again, put that in your notes. Think about it. Why would he say that? All right, nice drop, chop, 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 one more down. That to me, probably how it plays out. You can see it here, down, chop, boom. Now that's what I'm saying. If you do hedge with Gush, your drip or your XOP short, trade it day to day. If you see it down, Gush down 20 points, and it rallies 10, 15 points, take the money. Think about how much you can accumulate from trading around a position, especially if it's Gush and you just play it intraday. Pretty lucrative. Let's finish it up. ExxonMobil and some of the oil names. I honestly thought the 50-day was a good starting point to short, but I thought also, too, we could fill the gap at 95. Clearly, I was wrong. However, think about it. Could it be chopping? I don't know. Again, chop to drop. This is the whole point of it. Trade the extremes. We talk about this over and over and over. If you want to short the 50-day, great. I'm not going to short until we get up to here. Now, if I miss out and it goes lower, great. But I know this thing dropped pretty significantly. That's why, again, same thing with XOP. Like, I'll rather play Gush than to press my drip at this point, right? Like, keep your drip core in case the market does go lower and trade intraday, day trade Gush. ExxonMobil, again, I don't know if I would buy puts now. I would wait for the 20-day to curl over and then short it. Let's get into some of the other oil and gas related names. UNG. We talked about this too. This is one of the triggers for knowing that oil is going to fall. Look at this upper channel after a big move, pulling back. Just hanging out tight. Valero. I mean, this is a joke. 27 times earnings up here, and people don't realize it was at the monthly channel. I mean, here you go. 125 and it went dropped to 71. I mean, it's possible. And again, if this ends up being 2008, maybe it's just a a drop, chop, then flop. Keep in mind, look at, it didn't get murdered. I guess it was more like 2000, summer 2008. That's when it got continuation. I apologize. Could this be the top, chop, pop, flop? I don't know. Something of that nature. Just please be safe. PXD, we talked about this, getting down to potential support here, this range, look at it. Oh, but wait for the 200-day. Well, I hope the 200-day hits for those who are shorts on it, but we talked about shorting up here. Nice trade. EQT, the XOP's favorite largest name. Look at where it's at. 100-day. Now, again, if you don't think it can bounce to head and shoulders, I think you're wrong. Let me clean this up because this is just silly. You can see. This is my guess, like some sort of head and shoulders pattern, or it could just The two options are continue lower or bounce and lower. That's why you keep some of your drip and you trade the drop or a gush. Hope that makes sense. Hamilton, if you got any questions, stop by again because I want people to understand this. Let's end it with Chevron real quick. We talked about the volume price analysis. We said this was a red flag. Laid a higher high, boom. Now you're back at some support from an old channel. I don't even know, man. That channel must be from like the 1980s. No, I'm just kidding. Just watch it. Again, they broke the 100-day. You can't believe in straight line moves. I hope I am making that clear that when something moves big in your favor, you have to be careful because if the market's going to rally, shorts aren't going to work as well. And if you're long something and the market's tanking, you got to be aware. All right, on that note, love you guys. Be safe. Talk to you soon. Stop by the Discord room. Holler. Hey, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, stop by the Discord room. A link is in the description below. Also, if you'd like to help support more free content, the PayPal link is in the description as well. I appreciate your continued support of the channel.